You're tuned into the Edible Activist Podcast. I am your host and favorite go-to edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. On this show, we serve up empowering narratives and fresh perspectives straight from the voices of emerging Black people and people of color in agriculture and business. And in these candid conversations, we might sprinkle in a few choice words. They're the ones stewarding the land, healing communities, and championing food justice and economic empowerment across the country. Their contributions and stories sprouted from the earth truly embody the spirit of activism in their own unique, edible ways. So let's dig in and get started. Welcome, everyone, to the Edible Activist Podcast. Oh, y'all. Oh, I love that. Welcome, y'all. I'm so excited to have you here. This is an exclusive in-person live recording of the podcast. I am the Melissa L. Jones of this wonderful podcast where I bring amazing, dynamic Black people and people of color to talk about food and agriculture and all things centered around food justice. So it is an honor for me to see and hear the amazing folks who are stewarding the land. And we have just really great conversations to talk about how they are championing their work on the land. So I just want to thank you all for being here. I also, just a couple shout outs. I have to shout out The Line for sponsoring this. They made this happen. And so I just appreciate you all. I've had a partnership with The Line for some years now. I had one event about 5 years ago. This is actually my first event since COVID. So it's been 5 years. And so I'm just really grateful for you all having me back and inviting some amazing guests to witness this. I also want to shout out Green Things Works, who provided the lemonade beverages for this evening. So let's shout out to Kendra.
Thank you, Kendra. Delicious.
Kendra is an amazing woman, an amazing Black woman, and has an amazing woman-owned business. And so I've been just a huge fan of her beverages, her teas, and she's a damn good cook, y'all. Like, she's a vegan chef, and y'all, for all the vegans, I only trust a few people to feed me, and Kendra is definitely one of them. For those who know me, they know that all too well. So we are kicking off what I'm calling Homegrown. It's a series and an ode, honestly, to celebrating Black women, land stewarders, and farmers. And I always say, whenever February hits, right, which is Black History Month, for me, Black History Month is 365, is every day. And it's been a leap year, so what is it, 366 this year? And the same goes for Women's History Month. It does not stop here. It is every single day. And so last year I had hosted two dinners in partnership with Falani and had some other amazing women that I'm going to shout out in a few moments that centered around celebrating Black women land stewarders and growers, and not only just their achievements, but just to come together and say, hey, what is it that you need? Because this work is hard. Is dirty, no pun intended, and it's a lot. It really is a lot. And so I've been grateful to open up my home and invite these amazing women to celebrate them. And so I knew coming into the new year that I wanted to honor their work all year long. And so this exclusive event kicks off Homegrown, and it kicks off a year-long celebration of celebrating Black women farmers, growers, food activists, all the things. And so I'm just really, again, just grateful to be able to do this. So just a little bit of the why behind why we are here. So the other thing that I have to say too is, before I shout out these amazing Black women, is that the Black woman has always stood behind every single social justice movement.
Say it again.
The Black woman has always stood behind every single social justice movement, okay? And so it is my honor to honor all the Black women who are doing the work currently, but those who came before us as well. So I just want to say that, and just hold space in your heart as we have these conversations and just think about them, because they have been amazing contributors to this space. So. And while I'm talking about amazing Black women, growers, and farmers, there are a few here. So we're going to introduce Falani in a moment, but I have to shout out a few good people. There's some amazing Black women growers back in that corner that I've met actually over the summertime. I don't know their name, but I remember having a conversation with them at this amazing farm tour that was put on. But one person I definitely have to call out first is Gail Taylor, a 3-part Harmony Farm.
Yes. Hey, Gail.
Also known as the People's Farmer here in D.C. If you do not know Gail, Google her. Her work is amazing, and she is a trailblazer, and she really is the reason why a lot of us, and not me, I don't be out there, y'all, but why, these amazing people been able to do the farming that they've been able to do here in the city and where else. So thank you, Gail. You are just amazing, and we just really do look up to you. And so I would be remiss not to call you out. Over to my right, the VIP section over here, Jaren Hill Lockridge, the woman of the Whale at the Whale, also representing the great Ward 8, as she likes to affectionately call it. Southeast is in the building over here. Just want to honor all the food. Thank you. Honor all the food activism work that you've been doing over in Southeast and beyond. Thank you for your contributions. They do not go unnoticed. Need to shout out Dominique over here of Plots and Pans. Just another amazing stewarder. Y'all go follow. First, we'll follow all of them. But Dominique, I've been following your recipes and everything you've been doing in the kitchen, okay? Got me over here starving and hungry.
We need some gumbo, girl.
Are there any other, if you are a Black woman or you identify as a Black woman, you are a grower, a farmer, a steward, if you can just raise your hand, because I just want to make sure that I want to see you. Yes, thank you all. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, Kendra.
Thank you.
Kendra as well, herbalist, grower. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we ready to get this party started. Let's do it. Falani is so many things, okay? She is the founder and creator of Bird's Nest Box. She is a farmer. She is a grower. She is a griot and does a beautiful, beautiful, she just has this amazing way of sharing her family lineage and tying it back to her journey of farming. She is also affectionately known as the Watermelon Lady. If you all have not had any of her watermelons, y'all are missing out, okay? She is also known as the Pepper Lady, okay? And what you see, like, as part of our display is her hot sauce, which actually is connected to her family story. I never tire of hearing Falani's family story. I never tire of seeing the photos that she puts on Instagram. And
Thank you.
I do feel like it's overlooked, I have to say. You just do an amazing, like, you are so rich. The way that you share your story is so rich.
Thank you, cousin.
And it's so important. And so I knew, and we just vibe. Like, Falani is also my cousin, AKA, like, affectionately known as my cousin. We've hosted Cousin Talk here on the Edible Activist podcast, and we talk a lot of shit, y'all. So if you haven't tuned in, definitely tune in. My mom is probably, like, clutching her pearl. She's over here in the corner as well.
Oh, this is your beautiful mother.
That is. Shout out to Mom. Straight out of Alabama, you know.
Yes.
So, and she's part of, my mom is actually part of my story. But anyway, back to Falani.
No, back to you. Thank you for birthing Melissa. Thank you so very much. Yes. Thank you.
So Falani is here and with me, and we're going to join in conversation. I'm not going to hold you all long, but I just knew that I wanted to kick this off in having a dialogue with Falani and sharing her gems. What you share, they're just gems, and they're so rich. So thank you for joining me. It's going to be a really great conversation.
Thank you, cousin, for my bio. I need to, like, throw it in Chat GPT or maybe even not, and just put that shit on my website. I love it. Thank you, cousin.
I got you, boo. Alrighty, so for our first question, Falani, when you think of homegrown, and for me, it just sounds so sassy. So sassy. I loved it. When I was thinking about this series, I said, just to be simple, Melissa, homegrown. When you think of homegrown and repping your DC roots, Falani is a DC native. Like, this is home. Like, this is your city. Whether you recognize it or not at times, we understand what's going on outside of here. Your DC roots intertwined with your Southern heritage. What sparks your mind?
Okay, well, first, I would like to start off by saying that this is very touching in the sense that I grew up around here. I grew up on Georgia Avenue and Harvard Street. And I rip and ran all these streets up here. 17, what's up? This is the hood that we're in. We're in 17. I don't know what they call it now, but
You know, I guess, right?
so I'm just really grateful to be here because a lot of us didn't make it. So I grew up during the crack epidemic and during a time when D.C. was the murder capital of the United States. So lost a lot of friends to gun violence, drug trafficking, drug usage, So to make it to 21 was a blessing, but to make it to 38 and to be up here in my neighborhood, super gentrified, but we are still around and we're here. To be here is a blessing. So for me, homegrown is the old DC, when the houses were just like red bricks and the stairs were black steel, and Georgia Avenue was like the epic center of black businesses all up and down. And I was very, very grateful to grow up right off of Georgia Avenue. So homegrown is Hobart Block Party, Georgia Avenue Day, Caribbean Day, Homegrown is my mother's cooking and our house being very open to everyone to come in, sit, eat. Homegrown is my block being like 80% North Carolinian or Carolinian black folks from South and North who migrated, through the Great Black Migration. And the block you could leave out your house and speak to. You have to speak to everybody. Had to be every bit of like 70 homes or something on my block. And we all knew each other. And so, homegrown is going down to North Carolina in the summer times, when we didn't want to, but we did. And
you appreciate it now, right?
We ran the family village from house to house. It was a different freedom that now we do appreciate, and we missed the corner stores and going, to the ice cream truck and getting our salt and vinegar chips and all that. But it was good because down there we was on the farm where we had to shell peas with grandma, and we had to work before we, got on that slip and slide and all that. So homegrown is like that back and forth between D.C. and Carolina, and just being a kid riding in the car and kind of can feel when you back in the city, like the Sophia lights and the hoes on 12th Street that you would see with the patent leather boots when you open your eyes as a kid, like,
telling you the truth.
I'm back home, like we're in the city, so, and that peace that you have in the country just abruptly stops when you can feel it and you open your eyes like, oh, yeah, I'm back. So that's what homegrown, is to me.
I love that so much. Falani is so candid, as you could probably just experience, and that's why I love talking with you, Falani, and I really appreciate that. And homegrown, it speaks to tradition, right? Like lots of tradition. So thank you. So for my next question, how do you see the legacy of the pioneering women in your family influencing the work that you do as a farmer and steward of the land?
Okay, well, I want to acknowledge, I have an elder cousin here. My cousin Melinda is my mother's oldest first cousin. So can you raise your hand, cousin? I'm not going to continue the conversation without acknowledging my cousin Melinda.
Hi, cousin Melinda.
And
My mom's name is Melinda.
yes, and so my mother's family, my mother is a DC girl of born bred and red, okay? She is from Southeast and Southwest, and her mother is from Alabama,
Shout out Alabama.
and her father came from Casita, Georgia. And so my mom was pregnant with me when my grandmother passed away, so I wasn't able to meet her. However, like my mom said, when I was born, I came out with fingers just like her. And I love fried chicken and cantaloupe. And she loves that too, from what my mom said. So it's interesting how, like you gain an ancestor, but a new, birth comes about. And so
I have a quick question. So the fried chicken and the cantaloupe, that's on one plate?
well, it could be, but it really don't be.
Okay.
It's just cantaloupe is my favorite, and
cantaloupe
growing up, like we did a lot of birthday parties in the house and stuff, and my mother like, oh, what you want me to make? I may say like, oh, I want fried chicken and mashed potatoes and peas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My brother's here. I think he liked that meal too. but so yeah, I just feel like when I started to like certain things and craving, my mother was like, oh, my mom. Oh.
You're good.
Thank you. And so I wasn't able to get to know my mother's side. I know them. We would go to Alabama to family reunions and stuff, but Alabama's kind of far, so I didn't get to go down as much. And so my mom basically got with my dad like in they were in their early 20s. And my dad is a like country laid back dude. My mom's like super extroverted, very loud and everything. And so they were like the total opposite, but the perfect balance, so to speak. And my mom is a great cook.
I know that.
I mean,
person.
an awesome
That's the
cook.
other person I'll let feed me too.
And so, what was the question, girl?
It's all good. I asked you, how do you see the legacy of the pioneering women in your family?
I'm all over the place.
It's okay.
Okay, so now in terms of placement, because I'm gonna talk a bit about my paternal lineage because I want to talk about my moms more, but I need to get to know them more. I know my cousin, but her family's kind of smaller. So I wanted to say that when my mom got with my dad, and my dad came from this huge family, this real country, and they can go back and forth, that my father's family became her family, and she was like, when my great-grandpa died at the repast, my mother said, the fried chicken and the potato salad and everything tasted just like her mother. She said she had not tasted food like that since her mom had, passed away. And so I'm saying all that to say my mother loved my father's family, and she would drag us down there every chance she got and leave us there, for the summers and stuff. She had support, I'm grateful for that. And so that is where, like, down my paternal grandma's house, I fell in love with the land. And my great-grandparents' home, I fell in love with the sandy, loamy soil that's like in Eastern Carolina. And my grandmother loved gardening. She did the flowers, and my grandpa did the veggies.
Okay.
So summertime, Granny was always in her sweatsuits, tending to her azaleas and roses. Always was into, exotics. I mean, we have magnolia trees in the yard that her aunt planted, for her. So horticulture and agriculture has, as a descendant of Africans and indigenous, it's in our blood, the farmer work. So all the women before me have pioneered and made a way for me to be in this space. And I'm just grateful to be able to enter this space in a different way and form and light, because a lot of the women before me went through a lot of misogyny and racism, double with that.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of mistreatment as it pertains to land. When you look at, down the line of all the way to my great-great-grandmother and how my great-great-grandpa swindled her and so forth and so on. So it be internal stuff, and then it's external things when it comes to being a Black woman in this space. So I'm just glad to return to the space on some different boss type shit. Yeah.
And I know this can turn into a whole nother conversation, which I'm not trying to do that. So two things is I have to go back to the fried chicken and the cantaloupe, right? I don't eat meat, but when I did, I love me some fried chicken. Always love me some cantaloupe. But I just want to just land here for a moment because your family's from the South. My family's from the South. My mother's from the sticks of Alabama, Butler. You blink, you miss it. You probably heard me say that a million times. But all people think that all parts of the South are the same, especially when it comes to food, and it's so different. I don't remember us coming up eating fried chicken. That wasn't like a thing in like our household. Even still to this day, when we go to Mississippi, there isn't fried chicken. So like, it's just interesting. And I just wanted to lay that out because some people just do not know, like they're just set up different when it comes to like food. We're not all eating fried chicken. For us, it's fried fish, fried okra, cornbread.
And even the cuisine changes between North Carolina and South Carolina.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And the other point that you made too about, just some of the you didn't label it as a challenge, but just speaking to some of the things that happen internally within the family, but then externally, that internal family thing is a thing. And we've actually had a whole conversation around that when it comes to land and securing land and the internal fights, if you will, that happen within the family. So like, I just wanted to just point that out and just thank you for your bravery and just sharing that because it is a whole nother conversation. So yeah. Awesome.
You're welcome.
All righty. So Falani, as I mentioned before, Falani is a griot, even if she doesn't like say it loudly. And I also really do encourage you to look at her Instagram page as we're talking because her photos are so vivid. And I just admire anyone who's just really be able to go back into their lineage and share that history. That is so important. I remember, and I say this all the time, if some of you all who listen to my show, I remember saying this. I did an episode and I had a brother on the show, and he told me, he said, Melissa, yes, Black history is important. It's very important. But the most important history is your family history. And ever since then, I've just been committed as much as I can to just really learning my family history. And that's obviously a lot of land history, like I'm the great granddaughter of a sharecropper, right? And I'm still trying to unearth, that soil, if you will, and just learn more about the land ownership or lack of, honestly, that was within my lineage. But just turning to your role, or unofficial role or official role as a griot. As a griot of the land, how do you feel storytelling enriches the bond between people and the food that they savor?
That is such a great question because I love you so much, niece. She keeps giving me the thumbs up to make sure Auntie's okay. And thank you.
Me and Falani's nerves get really bad.
Yeah.
This show will mark 151, and I've done over 100 shows, and I get nervous before each and every one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna savor your niece's hearts too. So thank
sweet.
y'all for showing us some love too.
Okay, storytelling goes together with food. As I said, I grew up in it was pretty much an institution. The house was open. It was always food gonna be cooking. And my mom savored recipes from the South that she learned from her mom and her grandmother. And so she would make like real country stuff like butter rolls and dump cake. And Black people love different stuff. So once they taste something different, it's like, and I'd be like, these people sure is coming to buy some butter rolls, because my mother cooked and sold food. She was a caterer too. So the kitchen for me is where the storytelling goes down. I'm the youngest girl. It's 4 of us. I'm the youngest girl, and then my brother's under me. So I was tasked a lot with prep work, sous chef type stuff, and clean up or make the lemonade, or, and so, being the youngest girl, they don't really trust you as much, in the kitchen with certain things. But I did pick up a lot and learned a lot, and when I started cooking, they was like, oh, yeah, Byrd can really cook, and this and that. And I'm like, I've been in the kitchen watching. Clearly I know all the ingredients if I had to cut it up, so. So storytelling and just talking in the kitchen is a thing for us, And even I live by myself. I be like, why don't I want to cook? And it's because the kitchen is lonely. I'm used to so many people walking in and out, and and so that whole thing of cooking and eating by yourself, at times, that's why I just be like, I'm going out to eat, because I like company. I like space in the kitchen, and when you grow up in the kitchen, it's just 24 hours open almost. Is kind of hard to adapt to a one-person kitchen,
No, that is such a real thing as someone who is not a cook. I am not a cook, but I thankfully, to my parents, I'm 41. Every year we've gone down to Mississippi, and what I've been accustomed to is going to my grandmother's house and there being a house full of people and food. And so I know we actually had that conversation, me, you, and Sean, shout out to Sean, who's here in the building too, about traditions that are just kind of like disappearing, because we not wanting to cook no more. I had to remove DoorDash and Grubhub off my phone, y'all. It was getting pretty ridiculous, but we don't want to cook anymore. And, our age, we're not holding on to those recipes, and grandma, they tired. Auntie is tired. They're saying, no, let's pass this on over. And some of us don't want to take it on. So I thank you that you have taken it on.
And they had the time to be in there cooking all the meals. They had working men that was outside providing, and they could be at home and make 3 meals a day, that was normal to them. 3 meals a day.
They had working men.
It's a different time. We don't know. It's set up different now, sis. That was their top job, was to make those meals and stuff.
You
and they put a lot of love into it. Come on, chicken and dumplings in the morning.
Oh my God.
By noon, they had a chicken plate and all that. And then by 7, it was another meal. Shout out to the woman before us.
Yes, shout out to them, honestly. Oh my goodness. Well, the most that I've been able to do is, take on my aunt's fried fish recipe. So I can fry some fish, y'all, and some potatoes, all right? One day I'm going to have a really great experience in Mississippi. I'm going to invite y'all down. My family is waiting for y'all. I tell them all the time, I want to bring some people down. They're
coming,
like, bring
girl.
them. So
I'm coming.
can you share just some, and it doesn't have to be like a concrete process, but obviously you've learned a lot of recipes that have been passed down to you, from great cooks in your family. Like, what has been that process? Like, what would you share? Because even for me, I have a book that's labeled recipes, and every time I remember giving it to my grandmother, and she's just like, what do you want me to write down? I'm like, tell me how you cook your greens. But they didn't have recipes back then. It was just a little bit of water. Make sure you don't put a ton of water in it. Like, it's different. But like, how have you been able to collect your recipes?
It's funny that you said that, because I guess I'm kind of carrying that mental tradition on too. Because
we're doomed.
You just gotta be in the kitchen to watch it, However, I had a older cousin pass, my cousin Curlin, about 2-3 years ago, and my father's side, the Spiveys, they can throw down. My mother and them could throw down too, but they could throw down too, and so cousin Curlin was a really great cook, and so at the repast, at the house and stuff, we eating and stuff, and So the recipe talk came up, and they was like, oh, Curlin got the recipe book. And because I started asking, I said, hey, I was calling the elders like, hey, you got a recipe book? We just knew. And then I said, well, who got the family recipes? And then they was like, you got to call such and such. They would know. They spend more time with such and such and this and that. And so, but they said Cousin Curlin got a book. So I said, okay. And the daughter said, y'all can come by and look at it. So me, my sister, and my cousin supposed to go down.
Please.
And write it down and really do something, to preserve the legacy because, those good old, that corn pudding and all of that. And I mean, they said that my great grandmother had stuff like that we couldn't even fathom, and think about. And I'm just like honored to just be born into such a culinary, family. My father got to grow up with my great grandparents, and Grandma Nisi was just the ultimate cook because she would fuse African recipes and indigenous recipes,
Wow.
And they'd be doing all types of stuff, girl. Girl.
I love it. Well, when you get your hands on that recipe, I am open to testing out.
And if
some
I
other
share it,
stuff,
I'm gonna be selling it. I'm not about to keep giving up my family
As you
history
should.
and all this stuff for free.
Absolutely.
So,
As you
like
should
she
not.
said, y'all go on Instagram and look, cause it will be gone. Y'all gonna be paying on Patreon.
Hello. You might get an
Rich
exclusive
content.
look. Falani brought some beautiful photos. So at any point when you feel like you want to share those within the
Okay.
within the confines of this room, right, and be
And I
delicate
got
with
people in
them.
the crowd too. Cause my family real sensitive over photos. They won't
they
bring no book
should.
out. Cause you
Wow.
know how black people are with photos.
I need a copy of that, and they don't bring it back. All right. Next question, Falani. So, balancing the multifaceted identity of being a Black woman in agriculture, what hurdles have you conquered and what triumphs have you celebrated along the way? This is a loaded question, I know.
Yeah, it for me it's a lot of hurdles for me, but I'll concise it. I mean, I was innately born into this, as my birthright coming into this, being a descendant of those who built this country, and we still haven't, been paid. That's a hurdle in itself. The fact that I'm here, a descendant of peoples who were taken from a continent, brought here, we pushed through that. And so I'm just blessed to be here. We made it. And so when I entered the space of growing, it was more so for my mental health. My dad being, a super country guy, when I was going through depression, he was like, you need to get in the dirt. They got all these community gardens. Get in the dirt, get in the dirt. And so I got in the dirt, and then it metamorphed into a business. I did not think that I would become like a farmer for my career per se. So I was pulled into it naturally, and I do have a love for the land. So when I went from like a box garden that was big as this room to a half-acre farm, I got out there, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of land. And I was like, I kept pushing it off starting the farm season because I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't have employees. Most of my family has migrated back down south. How am I going to do this? And I kept pushing it off. And then I kept going out there looking at the land. And then I said, you know what? This is a half an acre. They told me my great aunt used to grow a half an acre for fun of watermelons. And I've had, our people have worked 7 acres, one person working 7 acres of land. So I said, if they could do it, then I can do this half acre.
But sis, I've been out there, and that's a big piece of land that you have. Now, I know there's someone like Gail and the other farmers in the back. You're like, half acre, but that's a lot of land.
For one person,
For one
is.
person, that's
And
a lot.
So yeah, the hurdle was just do that. do it. People did it before you and did way much more. It can be done. And once I started to cultivate and get into the swing of it, I really fell more in love with farming. So it's just about just doing it and not staying in your head thinking all these things and it's too much and that. So that's how I overcame.
It's
that
labor.
challenge.
Farming is labor. What have been some of the things you've been able to celebrate out there? Watermelon lady and pepper lady.
Those watermelons, they be lined up for that watermelon like it's crack in 89. And I pull up, it is like the drug of produce. And
the watermelon.
I be pulling up sometime almost late for my pop-up. And I'll pull up 5 minutes before, and it's like a line of cars already out there.
They were good.
And I'm like, wow, look what watermelon the seeded ones do.
Seeded watermelons, y'all. Seeded.
So
yellow
those
meat,
watermelons.
Yellow meat, orange meat, red meat.
All the meats is going to be this year.
And weren't you, correct me if I'm wrong, because, there's this whole thing about Black people and watermelons. Weren't you sharing some of the history or just providing some context and just
absolutely.
debunking some crazy, stories and myths around our association with watermelons?
Yeah, I had a project called the Watermelon Campaign where it delves into the history of this great mystic fruit that started off, in East Africa and made its way all over to the West, and then we brought it here and now, because of us, America produces the best watermelons in the world, And so, for me, the watermelons brought me so much joy on the farm. I mean, and just the way the kids come out there and the people. And me and my brother was on a watermelon diet all summer. Just watermelon. People still writing me now. Watermelons. I'm like, it's not hot yet. Watermelons.
I'm waiting for him. Also, shout out again to Kendra of Green Things Works and her amazing lemonade. I want to see a watermelon lemonade collaboration, okay?
That's
Two Black women. Listen, straight, right out the yard. Hyper local. Come on now. You can't even get any better than that.
All right.
That's awesome. Falani, to young Black women, or pretty much any Black woman, right? I don't want to restrict this to age. I don't want to restrict it to age whatsoever. Aspiring to enter farming or champion food justice, what gems of wisdom would you share?
Well, I want us to look at farming differently. Again, because we tilled the soil for over 400 years and weren't compensated, and all of the hard work attached to it, the plantation life, it's a lot of trauma attached to farming. And so I want us to know that we don't have to be ashamed to be a farmer. This is what built this country and many other modern civilizations, our farming and our agricultural genius. So I would say that to any woman that wants to get into farming too, that it's hard work. So get with some men that you can get on your team is what I want to say, because this is not it's not for the faint, and stuff. And so you definitely need a dedicated team, and just understand most industries in America, most stuff is male dominated. So you're gonna face things like that. But I would say get down and dirty and go for it. And the food industry is, again, that's another thing. America's culinary whole shebang is founded on us as well. So let's kind of reclaim that space of agriculture and food and be proud to be in the space.
Are there any other, I know you do a lot of reading when you have time. Are there any like Black women, like social justice, like movers, pioneers that you kind of just think of as you're going throughout your day and doing the work? Because it's a lot of labor and it gets tough. And people, there's one thing to grow the food, but there's also the politics around farming too. We ain't gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of politics, and we won't cross that line. But, just to keep yourself motivated and just think about those who came before you, or just even present day, women who are doing this role right now. Just any that you want to shout out.
I want to pay homage to a wonderful lady named Alethea Tanner. She was enslaved on the land that my farm is currently on. She was a child enslaved on this land. And her nickname is Lethe. And Lethe was born into slavery and then was sold into another plantation, but she also worked as a domestic servant in the White House under Thomas Jefferson. And during her off time, she would sell her vegetables that she would grow across the street at, I think it was Lafayette Park. They just named the street after her. And she used the money from her vegetables to purchase about 12 other family members from slavery. So when I'm out there on that land, I think about people like that. And then lately, I've been really gravitating to Afeni Shakur. I absolutely love Tupac. And I was able to meet Mama Afeni, and it was just like one of the highlights of my life. And I really, really love her social work because it is because of her why Medicaid exists in this country. People don't know that. And the Black Panthers also created the free food program in the school. So Mama Afeni, the way they went into them hospitals, y'all gotta see whatever patient that comes in here, whether they got the money or not. When we take advantage of these programs that exist today, we gotta thank people like her. And so I've been pulling a lot from Mama Afeni's energy lately, that fiery, militant energy, because she even had to stand up, against the men in the Panther movement too, because it's that double nuance of being Black and a woman.
Yeah.
So those are the two that's got the battery in my back for the moment. Yeah. So
I love that. Thank you. All right, we're winding down. I just got a couple more questions before we conclude. So thinking futuristically, how do you envision yourself shaping the future of farming?
Well, I'm quite new to this space, but not new in the sense of, we've been in this space. So it's been interesting to see what modern day farming looks like. It's giving kind of modern day plantation style sometimes. And I'm not really here for that type of stuff. We have to learn from the mistakes of the past. And so I envision, even right now, I'm fighting for a space and to be heard, as a farmer today. And some of the stuff that I'm bringing up is not just for myself, but it's for the next Black farmers that step into this space, because, okay, they calling us returning generation farmers and all of that. We've been in this space, but because we're just kind of re-entering it and gaining access to certain resources and capital and stuff, people are still looking at us like little farm hands. And we're business owners. You know what I'm saying?
Say that again. Y'all are business owners.
Yeah. So I envision that we become landowners and stop leasing. I envision that we need capital, investment, without control, of other entities. the middleman is the money's being passed to need to be cut out, and we need to be respected in this space. You know, we've been here. We weren't paid for the work that was done before. We're not doing it again for free.
Snap to that.
So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna say much more.
No, we can drop the mic there. All right, so for my finale question, and I'm definitely eager if there are any questions that are coming to mind for our audience, like please get them ready because we're about to conclude the show. But Falani, what concrete steps do you see individuals and communities taking to empower Black women farmers and activists in their pursuits?
That's a tough question. I do have some individuals that support me, you know, as a farmer.
Yes.
And movement. Sean is here.
Yeah, shout out to Sean.
You know, Gail is here. You know, you're here. I have individuals, but I can't tell you the steps that the community's making, to be honest. I'm looking for them.
Okay, you're still searching for
Yeah,
them.
I'm looking for them.
Yeah.
Because I like to know myself. I know that Fannie Lou Hamer was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and she made a lot of noise and took up a lot of space for Black women in this, you know, in agriculture. Since that has fallen off, I'm not sure. You know.
Yeah.
I'm looking for, if communities are out there bolstering and empowering Black women farmers and activists, contact me.
Yes.
I need your support.
Thank you for your transparency. Thank you. All right. Well, that concludes our show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Edible Activist Podcast, the exclusive live. And I've been here with the Falani of Bird's Nest Box, farmer, griot, storyteller, watermelon lady, pepper lady for this exclusive event. Thank you all for tuning in. You can find us on iTunes and Spotify.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. You can catch today's episode on iTunes, Spotify, and Simplecast. And be sure to follow us at Food Talks in Color, that's just the letter N, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.